Live. And we are now live. Are we live? Let's see. Beth, text me. Let's see. I hope it's on Aimee Raupp the page. Let me see. I see you. All right, we're live. So we were having some Zoom difficulties. Forgive me. I'm going to show Miss Cortney in the stream. Let's see. There we go.
Hi.
Hi. And that is baby Sawyer. He was born
Eddie.
on what, June 23rd?
June 23rd. He is 3 months old this week.
Hi, Papa.
Say
All
hi.
right, here comes everybody. Everybody's on. I can see it. We are live. Casper, Shamali, Kristen, I love it. So yeah, I mean, it took us 15 minutes to get here. Sorry, guys. Cortney and I have been catching up, so
We
that's
have
been fun.
been.
But but you guys have missed out. Oh, everybody's so happy to see you, Karen. Yeah, isn't he so sweet? Hi, Bubba. He just ate, right? So
He
he's
just
still.
gorged himself.
All right, so let's tell us how easy it was to get to him. Tell us all about
Oh
it.
my gosh, it was like just snapping your fingers and poof, you have a baby. It was that
A little
easy.
dance, a little rain dance, and then you got him, right?
Yeah, it was super easy. I mean, my story is not terribly different from a lot of the ladies in our group, except for maybe one very particular distinction in that I'm single.
Yeah.
So I've really never had the chance to just try on my own. So I started a business in my late 20s and just focused solely on that. And you just always assumed that I would get married or have a partner, and then I would have a baby. And, I just didn't know anything about fertility. In fact, really not until my probably mid 30s or late 30s did I even understand like signs of ovulation. And like, I just knew that my cycle was 28 days and, it was painful and not pleasant, and I knew nothing else. So it's probably, I knew a lot of things about a lot of other things, but I did not know anything about fertility until I found myself realizing, I'm about to be 40. I'm, not in a relationship. I don't think there's time for that to happen, and to be, trying for years to get pregnant. So I started with I started with IUI.
I want to just squeeze them. I want to take them.
So squeezable. I started with IUIs, and they, I never I don't even know that there ever was a connection between egg and sperm. And then I started reading about how damaging Clomid could be. And then I really started to dive into fertility because, of course, my RE was like, we'll just try this. There was no extra
testing or anything.
Testing, instruction, eat this. It was just, take this pill. We'll do an ultrasound. We'll, put some sperm in there and see what happens. And I was 41 at this point. So it felt like, a lot of
shot in the dark,
low chances. And so I decided, I'm not going to keep spending money on IUIs. And so I started researching IVF. And, for me in the United States, it's just sort of out of my ability to pay. I know, you tell all the people.
Yeah.
So
you were so happy to get here, buddy. So happy.
I researched medical tourism, and I started doing IVFs in Cancun.
Yeah, and I want her to start a side hustle with like helping women figure this out too. This is like sometimes we have these business chats, and I'm like, this is another business for you.
It really
is such a good researcher too. So I defer to her in our group a lot of times. Like someone asks a question about probiotics or sleep, she's our woman. Always. I'm like, go to Cortney because she knows this stuff inside and out. But go on.
I'm kind of a research nut. So once I realized, that medical tourism was a thing that you could do, I sort of figured out how to do it by myself. And I did a cycle in Cancun. I made one gorgeous PGS normal embryo. I had my first transfer and did get pregnant, had a confirmed pregnancy, heartbeat, the whole 9 yards. But no one really, everyone just, like my thyroid numbers were in range, and no one really, I didn't have a history of loss. No one was looking at anything else. And so at 11 weeks, I had a miscarriage, and it was dedevastating.
Yeah.
For me, it was, as you know, and for me, it was, even more than just the loss of that little person, was the loss of the opportunity. It felt like it was going to be my only chance.
Yeah.
It was expensive. It was hard. I was 43 by this point.
Doing it on your own. Yeah.
Doing it on my own. I run a small business, so it's not like I had, I don't have predictable income necessarily. So it felt like, gosh, I'll never be able to do this again. And so in the, probably 6 or 8 weeks I spent grieving, I locked myself in my bedroom and only left it to get delivery food. And I would sit in this rocking chair, the same chair that I nurse him in every night. And I would research, it was partially grieving, partially planning. And that was the only way I could get through, this tremendous loss.
Yeah.
And, so anyway, I found Dr. Braverman. I had seen the ladies talk about him in some of the IVF groups, and thought like, well, I don't need that. I don't have those problems. But it, turns out that I did. And, one phone call with him, and he was like, listen, your case isn't that complicated, but we can definitely help you. And, here's what you need to do. And he said, listen, you can wait for your labs to get back, but I would suggest that you schedule your endometriosis surgery now. He said, I would bet the farm that you have endometriosis. And he was right. I did stage 2, and it was all over my ovaries, tubes, bowels, all over the place. And while I was on the phone with him, he said, and there's this fertility coach that you should look into.
He was a big fan of mine.
And, the funny thing was, during my 2 months of grieving in, as I called it, I also found, I was scrolling through something, and your e-course sign up came across my feed. And I come from a holistic background. I have a health coaching certification from IIN. So diet, the science, and also, Eastern and Western practices really speak to me. And so when I sort of just the first layer of Aimee Raupp, and I was like, oh yeah, she's for me. This is, she is speaking my language. So I ordered the books, which I don't know if you can see them, are always on my desk.
I can see Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. Oh, and Body Beliefs next to it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can see the little pink.
I've also worn out the Body Belief audiobook. I love that one the most because it's your voice. Like, you are the one. So it's like having Aimee.
We've never done audio for Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. I want to so badly. It just wasn't an option. It's the publishing company. So
yeah. Well, I've listened to it. Like Laura was talking about the other day, how she's, read it through so many times. I have listened to it more time. On the beach, on an airplane, while I'm at work. I listen to Body Belief over and over again. So I'd already signed up for the e-course when Dr. Braverman recommended you. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I have, the dream team is in place. And then we, started talking about what to do next. And, I had to save up. So it wasn't a fast process for me. So I started in the fall of around this time 2 years ago with the e-course. And also with Dr. Braverman, and I didn't actually use my protocol until the following summer. I decided to do one more IVF, now that I had all this like great information, and, let's just try it again. I was 44. I still believe that I have, good eggs in there.
Yeah.
And so I did another cycle, and unfortunately it resulted in no freezable embryos. But
We
I
had
mean, I
a call.
remember,
You were in the hotel down in Mexico, weren't you? When we did our
yeah,
coaching call.
I was on the boarding the plane to go home when we were on a coaching call, and you had asked, how did it go?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was devastating, but I really went into that cycle knowing that if it doesn't work out, that I have a plan to make my family. And the way that happened is that in the same, like 2 weeks before my first transfer, my pregnancy that I lost, a friend called up and said, "Hey, I know, I don't know where you are in all of this, but I know you want a baby and I think I can help. I have some friends who want to give you their embryos."
Amazing.
And I was like, "What? What do you mean? Give me their embryos?" And, I mean, I'm like waiting to see if my own embryo is normal. Like, I was definitely not thinking about having a donor, a double donor for sure. So, I just thought, wow, what a great, I mean, such an amazing gift that anyone can give.
An amazing gift. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
So amazing. And my family, I come from a family of, we're very, I have a cousin who was a recipient of an organ transplant. My sister, who was killed in a car crash in her teens, was a donor of 5 organs. Like, we are very supportive of, that sort of mentality. And so for someone to give their, potential babies to someone else is just
amazing.
So, but, I was still pretty set on having a biological child, and I wasn't ready to sort of let that go yet. And so, over the course of, gosh, it was probably around the same time I started the e-course, I actually got to meet the donors. We had dinner. They were lovely. I held their youngest child. I'm pretty sure I gave them some unsolicited advice because I can't help myself. She has since said that I actually did help them.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's just like me. I go where I shouldn't go sometimes, but I know it's going to help,
Yeah. I mean, how can you help yourself? Anyway, so it took us a while. I kind of dragged my feet on signing the paper. We had to do a psych evaluation and all these different things to, get the lawyers and all the stuff to get it done. And I notarized the paperwork exactly 1 year after my previous pregnancy's first positive pregnancy test.
Wow.
So that was a special day. And I really, at this point, I have done the course. In January, we did a body belief reboot.
You did the reboot. Yeah.
The reboot. I did, I did everything. I flew to Mexico. I bought HGH home so I could do priming for 8 weeks before my cycle. I mean, I did all the things. And what, I found out after the fact that my thyroid medication the manufacturer had changed the formula of it. And that is sort of tanked my thyroid function. And that is probably one of the contributing factors.
Yeah.
So I come home from, devastating loss. I have processed. I'm telling you, I laid by the pool. I listened to both 2 of my favorite books, Deep Nutrition.
Yes. And you turned me onto that book. I love that book.
I mean, everyone should read it.
That book is amazing.
It is amazing. And I also listened to Body Belief again and just, lived in my feelings. And because I had done so much work, I think, on the emotional trauma and the mental part of it, it was, I think, pretty easy for me to grieve it, process it, and prepare for the next step, which was to do a frozen transfer with my donor embryos, which is a whole nother, I mean, I could write a book about how that process happened. But good news is that I flew to where the embryos are housed. I met the doctor for the first time in person. I had acupuncture in the room. They did the transfer, and they always hand the vial back to the embryologist to check underneath the microscope to make sure that the embryo has been flushed out. And as she's like explaining like what they're doing, she says, "Oh, and like really only like once or twice a year, an embryo will stick inside." And and she's like, "Oh, you're one of the two." So he actually stuck on the inside of the pipette and had to be flushed in. And she's like, "Don't worry, it won't have any bearing on your success." And I'm like, "Oh my God, is this a thing?"
You're like, am I really living through this?
I mean, like, if there's anything that could be like atypical about my process, I experienced it. So I went back to my hotel and rested and went home. And 4 days later, I had my first like very, very faint line, which I sent immediately a picture to Laura. And I was like, "Do you see it? Am I crazy?" And she was like, "I see it." So yeah. And on
Laura,
Halloween,
I went live with 2 days ago, right on Thursday. So if you guys didn't see that, you should go check it out. It's here. Yeah.
Laura and I were kind of in the same class, of body believers, and we became good friends. We text all the time, and she's a couple months ahead of me, and it just really, that support that comes from the group. I know we're like really kind of jumping around in the timeline here, but it was so incredibly important. I mean, listen, I think you would probably also say this, that all of this information you can find on your own.
Oh, totally.
You don't need the e-course. You could absolutely read all the books, find all the blogs. You could get all this information. But what you don't get is, Aimee has such an amazing anecdotal history, right? Like for a long time, you probably didn't even know why things were working. They just worked. And so you just keep doing the things that work and you refine them, and you develop this, amazing protocol that absolutely works. And so there's that part of it that you can't get from
the books. You can't even get it from my book, I think, Yeah,
I mean, I think there's a piece of that is addressed in the coaching calls like that. To me, listen, I was like, I can't spend this much money. I mean, I was like, I got to save for an IVF. I got to, Braverman is expensive, all the things. Let me tell you, that's the best money I ever spent. It is not just the course. Like, in fact, that's probably like, I would say, I mean, it's very valuable, but it's the least valuable part of the whole thing, right? Yeah. Like the course is amazing. The coaching calls are a lifeline.
And by coaching calls, you mean the office hours, the weekly
office hours. Yeah. So every week you get this time, to ask your questions, to be there to support other people who, like there were lots of people who were asking questions, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's happened to me. I totally never thought to ask this question. So between the office hours and just the group, the private group that's just for e-course students, I mean, I have 2 or 3 ladies that are in that group who now have their babies, who we've been through this all together. Alexandra and I text. Yes. It's usually her morning, my middle of the night, that we get to have a little check-in. But her little boy is just a few weeks older than my son, and so we have bonded for life. Like we can't wait till it's safe to travel so that we can all be in one place and have our babies meet. And
please invite me and Beth too.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, we're going to do it on a beach, of course. So anyway, it's, that part was key. Like, I knew a lot about nutrition. I have done AIP. Yeah. I could take you to my kitchen and show you. I have every AIP book ever written. I followed Mickey Trescott long before it was a popular thing. And so I was, pretty proficient at that. I've been making my own bone broth since God was a boy. Yes. But to have, the pieces and parts that are directly fertility related in the diet that really explained why they were important. That was key for me, even being experienced in that. And then, truly the part for me, and this is where I've got a box of tissues here just in case. The important thing for me was the emotional part. That was the life-changing.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I had private coaching, and it was while I was in Cancun picking up medicine or something.
I remember you were in the hotel room. I totally remember it. Yeah.
I was like fresh off the beach, wet hair. And I just sobbed because, it's just such a burden to carry, like guilt and shame. And frankly, my whole life, I've been told that my body is not good enough.
Yeah.
And so, that was part of my like inner dialogue was, I hated my body. I felt like my body betrayed me. I felt like, I have multiple autoimmune issues. And, I'm the only one in my family who has all these, same problems and has struggled with my weight. And, I had doctor after doctor tell me you'll never have a baby if you don't lose weight. And listen, like it wasn't for lack of trying. I have a really complicated, system. Any practitioner who has looked at my file is like, this is complicated because it's, it's a lot of hormone stuff. It's a lot of adrenal stuff. And it's hard to find the perfect combination. It's like a 300-piece puzzle, but 2 of the pieces change every day.
Yeah.
You never quite
your T3.
You never quite get the whole picture. So one of the things I think, you and I talked a lot about, like my thyroid meds, and we discovered like I just don't convert T4 to T3. And I'm sure that there's a really good reason why. It has to do with inflammation, I'm sure. Like Laura, I was in the upper 92nd percentile for inflammation when I started the Braverman protocol. On my omega index, I was at high risk for a cardiac event. And after, following the diet and following the supplement recommendations, primarily the massive amount of omega-3 that I took every day, I got down to the low. I'm below the range for the index. So I am in a much better position as far as inflammation goes. To give you an example, almost everyone who does an immune protocol is on prednisone, and a lot of people are on 40 milligrams. I was on 20 milligrams and I never went up. I never had to take more. I also
was the goal. 40 is a lot. I try to get my girls to lower dose too. 40 is a lot. Yeah.
And there were some, like right towards the end of my first, maybe at 10 weeks, Dr. Vidali was like, the lab is saying is recommended that we go up on your prednisone. How's your diet? And I was like, it's first trimester. So I'm eating a lot of gluten-free pasta and crackers. I was able to, kind of rein it in and not have to go up on the meds. And that was really important to be able to, cause as little interruption as I could. I mean, the weaning off of that's hard. So I also was at high risk for preeclampsia. And I truly believe, I ended up having to be induced because my placenta was starting to fail. My blood sugars crashed the week before he was born. So it was time. And I had multiple times had several preeclampsia symptoms. But, I would be, I got hospitalized at one point, and the doctor would be like, it's not really preeclampsia because you don't have all of the things. You don't have the high blood pressure to go along with the facial swelling or the headache. And I attribute my ability to like make it to 37 weeks and not have to have an emergency C-section with the fact that I was doing inadvertently all of the things that Aimee is telling you to do inadvertently will protect you from preterm birth,
100%.
preeclampsia, from, all the common complications, especially for older moms. I'm 45 now. So I think, a typical person with my history would have had an emergency C-section at 32 weeks with outrageous high blood pressure. And
And
so
then the after effects of preeclampsia, like I just had a new case come in and she was in the NICU for 5 days after giving birth because she got so sick.
yeah,
But the other thing I want to point out too is that Miss Cortney, when she was in the hospital like 1 or 2 times before this little guy came, she still tuned into office hours.
like, what else is there to do in the hospital?
It was like, oh, here comes Cortney. She's at the hospital. We would all check in. How you doing? How's everything going?
They had good Wi-Fi on
Yeah,
the antenatal floor.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe that. Listen, modern medicine is great, but if everyone ate a high protein quality diet, you would not have any preeclampsia.
No, you wouldn't.
I
Upwards
mean,
of
there's
80
not a
grams of
single
protein
case
is
of
what you need. Yeah.
preeclampsia where
Mhm.
the mom was getting enough protein, like 80 grams, 100
80
grams a
grams.
day.
Yeah.
You can totally prevent. I think the omega-3, I got my D up. That was one of the key things for me. I could never get it above 20. No explanation.
Yeah.
I changed the brand that I was using to one that uses coconut oil as the carrier.
Yep.
And suddenly my D went up to like 75. So that was very protective for him and for me. And certainly now with, all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
So, all of those things that are just built into the diet there are all the trickle down effects that, will protect, your baby and your pregnancy as well. So, and of course, the milk making after. I have every prerequisite for not having a milk supply. I mean, I have every
Yeah. You're older, you're a C-section. I know. I was the same way. And I remember my baby nurse was like, you're making cream, you're not making milk,
Yeah. He nurses exclusively, and I freeze probably 15 plus ounces a day. Just about to buy a new deep freezer because I've filled up the one that we have. So, all of the things that I worried about, I had to just sort of, I like to be able to be realistic.
Yeah.
I knew going into that I would probably have a C-section. And that was, I picked providers who I knew would support me to labor as long as I could and to do, to try and all those things. But they were also very direct and honest with me about the chances, because he was induced early. I mean, my body just was like, we're not doing this today. I never progressed past 2 centimeters. And I did all the things.
Yeah.
So it prepared me, to have realistic expectations, but also to think positively. Like, I read, oh my gosh, I have all these, potential reasons why I wouldn't make milk. So I got a stash of donor milk in my freezer the month before I delivered. I had, an IBCLC or 2 on speed dial. I had a plan for, if it doesn't go well, what can I do? So, so that's me. I'm a planner, and I did that every step of the way. I recognized that, there either wasn't any data about my age range, right? Like, good luck finding any fertility data on 45 and up.
I know.
A lot of the studies stop at 44. And so there just wasn't any data to find about an older pregnancy. And so I like to have realistic expectations about, what might happen and be prepared with, plan A, plan B, and plan C. And, but to think positively, like, why not me?
Yeah.
Why I got pregnant the first time with my own embryo that was PGS normal at 44. After not doing anything special.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
but you were doing stuff special because you knew the education, you knew the diet. I think you were already ahead of the curve, I would say.
Yeah, but I wasn't taking, all like as many supplements, or I didn't have as much of a plan as I did, after I started working with you. But, had I been on an autoimmune protocol, I probably would have carried that baby. So I think that's like, the important thing is to advocate for yourself.
Yes.
I went back to my RE after that loss, and he said, well, I mean, it's bad luck.
Yeah, this part.
And he said, I said, well, I've got this, guy in New York that I want to work with. And he rolled his eyes and he said, listen, I'm not doing any extra testing until you lose 3 babies. And then we'll do more
because we have all the time in the world for that.
Then we'll change the plan. And I was like, first of all, even if I could just easily and without cost get pregnant 3 times, I am not willing to go through this again. I had one loss and I said, that's it. I am not wasting another penny of my money, of my energy, of my emotional, reserves on losing another baby because people won't listen to me. And so I just found people who would listen. And when I did, they were like, oh yeah, we know your story. This is,
and we can help.
We can help. And frankly, your case isn't that complicated. Compared to some of the women who go to BRI and have like really complicated stuff. I didn't have that much, to have to worry about. So all in all, I could not be here without you. Like the being able to forgive myself, being able to have, I believe in the, when neurons fire together, they wire together. So, even when I didn't believe it, I would look in the mirror and I would say, you're beautiful. I love you. You're strong. You're fertile. You can carry a baby. And until I did believe it. And I wish I could reach them. He's asleep now, so I can't. But
I can tell he's like out cold.
But the right before I went to go do my transfer, I wrote mantras on affirmations on index cards, and I keep them in my handbag, and they're just like, written in pretty marker, and they're tied together with a pink ribbon, and I just sit and go through them and say them to myself or out loud, that I do believe in my body, and I do believe that, I'm going to be a great mother, and that I'm meant to do this. And, I believe that even though he and I don't have the same genes, we're not connected. He is, totally my kid. And even is starting to look like me.
Yes, I think he looks just like you. He is 100% your child. You just borrowed some cells. You were still the vessel,
And frankly, like, I don't know, everyone has their own beliefs, about spirituality, but, people ask me, like, why didn't I name the baby that I lost in 2018? And the reason I didn't is because I knew he would come back to me.
Yes, that's how I feel.
And so, this Sawyer was his name then, and Sawyer is his name now. And I had this amazing, so I have a very dear friend who is, does Reiki and is a healer. And she went with me for my transfer, in 2018. And we did this amazing guided meditation. I was like encircled in crystals and, blessed by the high priestess and all the things. And I have never been really good at, being sort of led into a meditation. My mind is always very busy. And, but I was so into it. And she essentially like took me, down a hallway through a door, and there was a crib with my baby in it. And I picked up my baby and I sat in a chair. Oh, I'm going to cry.
It's okay. Me too. And there he is. Yeah.
And this is the baby that I saw.
It'd be so perfect. We're so happy you're here, buddy. Oh, look at that little.
So anyway, he has been a long time coming, and I just love that I proved everyone wrong. Like
Yes, me too.
you know, you
That's
can
what Marissa
be,
said yesterday. She's like, I'm just so proud of myself that I did this, and
you
that's
can
what
be
right.
45 and overweight and have a bunch of autoimmune diseases and still have an amazing baby. I'm not
Yes.
saying it's
Yeah.
easy, like it's
No.
definitely
You
hard.
worked really freaking hard.
But, and you know, one of the things I really wanted to share is that I think a lot of women struggle to commit to something if they think that they will
Yeah.
fail.
Yeah.
And when you get, you know, when you watch the like free, you know, the egg quality course or, you know, any of the free videos and you hear about like what the diet contains, and the first thing people who aren't familiar with it say, like, well, what can you eat? And so it's daunting. It feels like it's such a big thing to have to do. And, you know, and I think a lot of us, especially if you're a type A perfectionist, um, that you think to yourself, like, well, I'll never be able to do it right. So why should I do it at all? And, you know, one of the things I learned from you is that like your best today is enough.
Yeah.
You know, like there were plenty of days that I did not follow the diet. I mean, I did my best. And
Yeah.
you know, I remember either posting in the group or maybe even emailing Beth about this, but I was like, you know, I'm doing the whatever phase it was. And I'm like, I just cannot follow the menu plan. Can I just eat the foods that are listed and like just make my own menu? And whoever it was like, of course you can. Because you know, I'm a rule follower. So like, if you say this is what you have to do, then I was like, I don't know how I was working crazy hours and
Yeah.
I had to buy like an extra instant pot to keep at work to heat my food up. And I mean, I had all these things, strategies. And that was, you know, one of the things I wanted to really like, I am, you know, shared yesterday on my own Facebook about him being a donor baby so that I could feel really comfortable sharing that
Yeah.
today, because I think it's important for me to be really transparent about my journey. And I really want people to know that you don't have to be perfect to get there. I mean, the closer you can stick to it,
Yeah.
the more success you will have. But, you know, one misstep or, you know, so there were days that I had egg drop soup for every meal.
Yeah.
That was just the best I could do that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I lived on Epic bars and Lara bars. I mean, like you just find the thing that
Yeah.
works for you and you do your best. And today, whatever your best is enough.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be perfect to still benefit and still have success. It is so much more about like forgiving yourself and
Yeah.
being believing that, you know, like you know, every shot.
Yeah.
Hundreds. I took hundreds and hundreds of shots just in this pregnancy alone, and every shot, I thanked that medication for, you know, keeping my baby safe and
Yeah.
just having true gratitude for every part of the journey and every you know, every step that gets you closer to, you know,
Yeah.
having a baby that you get to take home with you is important.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's an honor for us all in the group too that we get Cortney, because she is, she just shares so much and she is open and honest and funny. And I am always honored that, my girls go on to have kids and they don't go away. It's really nice.
I
It's
know we
like,
all sort of
we
like
become
creep
family.
around
But you guys
the
are,
group.
the head TAs, and we're also grateful. And any newcomers are so lucky to have the guidance and support from you guys too, or you know any of it. And we have our new mama group too, where we go and we kind of like have some cup of tea with some friends and we chat about baby stuff, and it's great.
That is
But
nice.
yeah, I'm so happy you got to this side. I mean, I always knew you would. I feel like I hold that space quite confidently for all the girls in the group, but especially the ones that, show up the way you did. And even in like that imperfection, which we talk a lot about, of like, let's lay the groundwork, figure out what's going to work for you and your body, and then figure out where we can be flexible in that, right?
Yeah.
And be kind to ourselves about it.
I mean, I literally had written on a note card, what would Laura Fletcher do? Because she is the most rule following body believer you'll ever meet.
Knocked it out of the park. Yeah.
I mean, one day she was like, I really feel like I'm losing weight. And I was like, have you not ever added any foods back? It was so hardcore. And I was definitely not. And luckily I had done AIP several times. So I really knew what my trigger foods were. Yeah. And even though those can change, over time, I felt pretty comfortable about what I knew I could add back and what I really just have to avoid. But yeah, there were times that, like, when we were pregnant, that I would text her and be like, but I want a turkey sandwich so badly. And she's like, just wait a little bit longer. And then you can, it was really, we had to really help each other out a lot of times. And I will tell you the sweetest thing. I mean, just to give you an idea of just how important the community part of this is, the support is, I mean, you said all the time, like, you're, twice as likely to get pregnant if you have a support group. So
women in support groups get pregnant twice as fast as women.
There you go, twice as fast. So I was, every week, every ultrasound, when you do fertility treatment, you start at 5 weeks with ultrasounds, and you go every week to like 9 or 10 weeks, and sometimes longer. And so every week was a huge victory, a huge obstacle, terrifying, right? Thinking about, is this going to be the time that they say, nah, it didn't work? And so I was to the gestation that my previous pregnancy was, sitting in the waiting room, waiting for my ultrasound. And, I have gotten pretty good at managing my fears and stress, and, doing all the things, and doing a lot of meditations and all of those things, but it's still right there. Right there at the edge of your brain is that thought that, you don't want to even let yourself think, but it's there. And so I texted Laura and I was like, I'm just so nervous. If I can just get past this week, I think I'll be okay. And she said, you'll never have another bad appointment again. And she was right.
She was right. Aww. I love it. And here he is.
Here he is. So that, there wasn't anybody else that could have talked to me off that way.
Soothed you that way. It was like someone who understands, someone who gets it, someone who's been with you through the whole thing,
Like walking. Yeah. I mean, I was just walking in her footsteps, right behind her. And it was incredibly powerful to have someone not just who loves you, but who is cheering for you, right? I have a lot of people who are cheering for me and who love me and want the best for me, but she so understood in a way that no one else did. Yeah. That it changed my life. I mean, that changed the course of the rest of my pregnancy. I really believed that she was right, and that he would, be safe and grow. And, I say the same gratitude mantra every night that I have since I started this journey. And it's sort of, become his bedtime prayer, where we thank, the people who love us and support us, and, all the blessings that have come, that just flow to us. And
that brought you guys together.
Yeah, that brought us together. So, yeah. And, I'm going to do it again.
There you go. I know. I can't wait. Bring a sibling in. All right, my love. I sadly need to wrap us up because I have a 2:10 call, a Dutch review for one of the students.
That's so exciting. Well, thank you for sharing our story, and just, for everything that you have done for us and for so many people. Anytime someone asks, I'm like, well, I mean, I would start with this book right here. And people are like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, listen, I mean, I will drag you to the water, because it's, and make you take a drink, because it's, if you are struggling to get pregnant or stay pregnant, and you're not doing this, giving it your full effort,
Yeah, you better try. Yeah.
then you are missing out. There is, when people tell you like, there's just nothing else we can do, that's bullshit. There
Bullshit.
is something else that you can do. And, people told me, every doctor I saw said, you'll never carry a baby, with your medical conditions, with your weight, with your whatever. I mean, your age. I mean, I heard it over and over again. So, if you want to really turn over every stone and really know that you've tried every possible thing, this is, the root of all health and wellness lies in your diet. And so healing your gut and, taking those steps is going to be the foundation for, anything else that you do. If you want your medication to be absorbed better,
you better
have
your gut. And you got to heal your thinking, right? Emotional and physical.
And the emotional, the diet, and the, setting free of that inner dialogue that says you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you don't deserve this baby. I thought I was being punished. I thought that my miscarriage was punishment for something. And so that guilt and shame just ate at me.
Yeah.
So, to be able to let go of that, and that was a huge, like, truly opened up a space to allow him to come to me.
I agree. It was the portal.
That is all because of you.
Yeah. Well, I love you, and I thank you for trusting me and for being so brave in everything you do. So thank you.
No, we love you. We talk about you all the time.
You guys, I love you. Real fast, I want to give away a scholarship. And I figure since we got all the Braverman girls talking, why not give it to Miss Karen? How do I say your last name, Karen? Nitzsche. Karen, do you want a scholarship to join the group? What do you think about that? Let's see. I think we're on a slight delay. So
Karen was also instrumental as far as the Braverman stuff. Like, she was my Braverman, like, tour guide. She really helped me, figure all of that side of things out. So big props for her too.
yeah, she's sweet. She messaged me the other day when during the Q&A, the books got knocked over behind me, and it was like random because there's no reason that they would have just fallen. And I thought like, oh, maybe it was my dad, and she messaged me. She's like, I think it was Dr. Braverman. And I was like, I'll take either. I love the idea that like both of us thought it was something.
Oh yeah. I mean, every night I thank our spirit guides and angels for protecting us. And I absolutely include him in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I know. Okay. All right. I love you and I thank you. And I love you, Sawyer. We love you so much. We're so happy you're on this side. Oh, that big stretch. Yes. Stretch it out, buddy. Stretch it out.
He's growing today. He's very sleepy.
Yeah, that's good. All right. And we love all of you guys. Obviously, if you want to check out the program that we've been talking about, aimeeraupp.com/yes. And we're here all week. Questions, comments, anything. Here to support you. And thank you again, Miss Cortney. We love you.
My pleasure. Love you too.
All right. I'll talk to you all later. Mwah. Thank you. Bye. Let's see.